Good morning, YouTube. As always, hopefully you are all good and doing well. Welcome to episode 4 of the mini cut. I'm a little bit out of sync this week. Normally I would do this on a Monday, but I'm doing it on Thursday, so I'm sort of like halfway through this last week. And this was how I was looking this morning. So to be honest, like I can't really see many differences, and I'm also still feeling a bit chubbier than I want to. But you need to remember that obviously you see yourself all the time. So if I'm to sort of compare my start pictures to the current pictures that I took this morning, you can see that there are differences, even though they're not huge. And weight-wise was 74.25 kilos. However, I know that weight is a little bit elevated because I've been a bit of a social boy. Saturday was down in Lymington, had the best fish and chips of my life. Sunday I had a barbecue, which is always really salty and going to cause more water retention. And then Sunday night I drove to London, but I did take food with me, and I also took my breakfast for the next day. But the next day I was out in Surrey all day, and eating just really wasn't in my control. So basically I had like 3 sort of small social days back to back, and it's not only going to affect water retention, but it's also going to affect digestion as well. So you need to always keep that in mind. And I think like a lot of people when they're dieting will have like those say 3 days of plans that they can't really work around too well, or even if they do, you inevitably just feel a little bit guilty about it, because it does inevitably reduce progress a little bit, or seem like it does, when the scales don't move for the next few days. However, I always think it's beneficial to still have those social things in there, as long as obviously you manage them to the best of your ability, and try not to feel guilty afterwards, because realistically you've already done it, you can't change it. You may as well just focus on sort of like moving forward from that point. But today is a full day of eating on my cut, so I will show you what I'm eating when I'm back home and explain exactly why as well. Time for the first meal of the day, aka breakfast, as most people call it, and it is 40 grams of oats, 125 ml of milk, 50 grams of Greek yogurt, low-fat Greek yogurt, 15 grams of dark chocolate, 10 grams of honey, and then some raspberries on top, which are like bleeding through at the moment. Some overnight oats. The reason I have this, I've also got protein powder in there, so it's a nice amount of like protein to start the day. It also feels like a nice sweet treat to start the day as well. But it's got carbs, protein, fat, fiber from the oats, a little bit of fiber with the raspberries as well, but a very good way to start the day. The main aim of this meal is like, this is meant to fill me up until sort of like my pre-workout meal, which I'll have around about sort of like 11 o'clock or so. So it's got to keep me full for like the next 3 hours. But I'll put the macros for this meal here, and then as we go through the day, I'll show you how like my macros change and stuff. Got a raspberry there. I'm going to do some work now, and then I will see you at the next meal. I've got my next meal here, and it is getting cold, and I'm quite a hungry boy, so I want to have it as soon as possible. But it is 3 bacon medallions, 3 slices of wholemeal bread, and some butter as well on each slice of toast, with ketchup on the side, because that is vastly superior to putting it inside. And also, I like my toast to cool down a little bit before I eat it, which some people said. I actually put that on my Instagram the other day, and someone called me a sex pest, which I thought was potentially a little bit harsh. But the reason that I'm having this now, literally just carbohydrates and protein, could really have something that was a little bit quicker to digest than the wholemeal bread. I have the wholemeal bread as opposed to sort of like having a bagel or something like that, just because it's more volume and it feels like I'm eating more, whilst obviously in a diet, which is always beneficial. Food is quite low at the moment, really. I'm a hungry boy like all day. It's definitely affecting energy and stuff, and a bit of motivation as well at the moment. So yeah, I'll take you to the gym for like a little quick compilation, and then as I say, back for the nutrition afterwards. Just got back home from the gym, finished my training session, and I'm not gonna lie, recently the training sessions have not been the best. I think there's been a mixture of things. I think it's a case of like general motivation being a little bit lower, just due to the fact that I am obviously not in a surplus anymore, so I'm not really like training to gain muscle, I'm more training to sort of like maintain it. But I've also got the fact that like I've just got tons of little niggles and pains that have obviously been accumulating over the time that I was bulking, and now they're just all coming out to play. Like I mentioned about my shoulder hurting previously, my triceps hurting the other side, my knees just don't feel really too good. Like I just feel like I'm literally like breaking off and falling apart at this moment in time. But also training in a deficit, it's quite difficult when you're no longer sort of feeling like strong, and it does feel like a bit of a task. Like for example, I'm just tired when I am like working, sat at my desk working. So it's a case that, especially when I'm training, I just have like no endurance, no real strength, and it's also quite frustrating. It's just a case of like going in there, trying your hardest still. But I decided not to show you how I'm looking, just due to the fact that I'm going to show you that in like a couple of days when I do finish the diet in terms of the posing room side of things. So my plan is to sort of show you how that's looking, and then potentially show you sort of like after a few days of more carbs and stuff as well. But without any more waffling on, let's go and have the next meal, aka snack, because it basically doesn't consist of anything. So this is it. What a humongous meal I've got. It is 50 grams of Cocoa Pops and 100 grams of milk, or 100 milliliters, whatever you prefer. I'm also going to have a scoop of protein powder, because ideally post-workout, you do want to make sure that you are having a decent amount of protein, because your body is sort of like primed to uptake it a little bit more. You're sort of potentially missing out on gains, missing out on a bit of recovery if you don't. The reason that I'm having the Cocoa Pops, as I mentioned previously in other videos, is just because they are quickly absorbed and digested, helping to get a little bit of energy into the body nice and quickly, which I definitely need, because as I say, I'm just feeling really tired. And I'm aware that I'm probably not selling this whole dieting process. However, this is because of how I've approached this diet. Like, I've approached it relatively aggressive. I cut my calories by 1,000 straight away on day one, increased my steps really significantly. My recovery recently has not been the best from like sleeping. But yeah, all of that combined, maybe like a little bit of stress as well, potentially, just means that I'm feeling quite lethargic and stuff like that, which is also why technically you want to sort of go less aggressive towards the start of the diet, so that it can be a little bit longer and a little bit more productive. But obviously, because it's a mini cut, you want to go a little bit more aggressive, get as much off as possible, and then go back into sort of like a gaining phase. But I've got more work to do. I'm going to edit up this video and stuff like that a little bit, and I will see you for my dinner later, which is the last meal of the day. Again, I'll make sure that all of the calories so far are here at this moment in time, and I will see you for dinner later on. It is time for the last meal of the day, and I'm actually genuinely excited to have it, because I'm quite a hungry boy. Let me put you here. I'll try and frame you up on the water bottle a little bit ad hoc. This is it. Don't want to drop any. It is 1 bag of rice, 200 grams of chicken, broccoli, just a certain amount, like however much I'm fancying on the day, and then also some peri sauce as well. I need to chuck some salt on there. With salt, I have this, like a decent amount. Basically, any meal that I can have salt on, I will have salt on. This meal is my largest meal of the day, and it's also tactically like that because I don't want to be going to bed hungry. At the moment, the calories overall are around about, I think off the top of my head, it's 2,187, 178 grams of protein. Not sure about the carbohydrates. Fat is like 54 grams, I think. And that is pretty much a full day of eating done. One thing you'll notice with every single meal is it consists of basically like a base of like lean-ish protein, like a good protein source. And then also it's got carbohydrates. It's also normally got some sort of fiber as well within it. Just before you go, and before you like and subscribe before leaving, one thing I wanted to say about as well is having foods that you enjoy within your diet is absolutely imperative to you actually sticking to your diet. I genuinely look forward to every single meal. Like, I love my breakfast. The bacon medallions are a little bit boring, but I still sort of like them. And then like everything else, I genuinely actually really enjoy having. And I think a lot of people think that dieting needs to mean that they're going to be like miserable eating. And if it does, you're less likely to stick to it. So make sure that you go for something that you enjoy. Hopefully you enjoyed the full day of eating. I will be seeing you very shortly to wrap up the 4 weeks and show you all of my progress and show you how I'm looking prior to going away. But if you don't follow me on Instagram already, follow me at Coach Recontrol on Instagram. And also if you want to jump on Project Poolside, which is exactly what I've been using to lose over 3 kilos, and I think off the top of my head, around about sort of 7 centimeters off my waist, then just head to the link in my bio on Instagram. Adios, hasta luego.